Well, it's that time of week again, Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Welcome to Steve's Place. Tonight we're going to have a very interesting guest who's going to teach us more about ultrasounds and how you can use them to detect heart problems and that. But before we go there, um, I'd like to remind everyone that we do have our YouTube channel, um, and I'd like to encourage everyone to sign up for it um, for like a subscriptions are free, and we have hundreds of presentations that you can see for free. But if you're members only, you get access, unlimited access to our member only stuff as well as the free stuff. And this week I've started putting up the 2023 conference. I've got the first two up there, and after the show I'll be putting another one up there. And doing things a little bit different in our descriptions. We have a bunch of links, you can click on to find various things. It's all self-explanatory. I'm about three conferences short of getting the Global Science Congresses done. And then we'll be doing the coffee stuff. Later on, I'll be doing the Tesla Society stuff from back in the 90s. And so we have a lot of material up there, and I encourage everyone to join. It's $9.99 a month. It really helps us. It gives us a means to start financing the next conference, which is coming up in August. Now, if you go up on the website there, we have our program already pretty much together. It's up there. There's a couple of spots. I'm just doing the final getting the final abstracts out of these people, and then they'll be up there. So it's looking really good. We're going to have a great lineup, come August 7th to 11th. I can't encourage you enough. Be watching. The emails will tell you when you can start signing up at the hotel. The rates are going to be very reasonable again. These rooms normally go for like $180, and we're getting them in the 80s, and that will include breakfast. You can't beat it with a stick. Plus, if you stay at the hotel, and you at night, we always have something, great to have, like taco bars or pizza bars, something to eat when you sit down. You can talk to the other speakers and that, and find out what's really happening out there. Because a lot of times people don't say stuff on stage that you would say in private, So this is a great time to get that personal interaction. I don't trust people until I can look them in the eye, and shake their hand. I don't really trust them, because you can't, get a feel for that person. You can't get a good read, So this is a great time to meet the people and get the inside story on what's going on, And I would like to remind people, and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget the get the thumbs up, if you like it, hit the thumbs up so we'll get these people back again, so, or get them at the conference. I can't wait to see how that conference is going to be this year. It's looking very good, let's see. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Joseph Ence, and he runs a company. Let me get rid of these people. Let's see.
Hello.
There's Joseph. Good to have you here, Joseph.
Thank
Could
you.
you talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My name's Joseph Ence. I got into ultrasound early. It seemed magical to me. And over time, I've gone to many heart attack and stroke prevention conferences. What I see with the ultrasound and what I hear at the conferences is kind of different from what people are told in the medical or when they go see a doctor. And so this might add some perspective to everyone for their own healthcare, what we can see by looking at your arteries and what you can do about it. But I also operate Vaso Labs, which is a national chain or franchises of ultrasound technicians around the country. Not the ones you see in the hospital and not the ones that you see doing pregnancy ultrasounds, but gals, usually gals, who have a machine and they go to local doctors and they provide services. And my clinics that I service are usually concierge or private or a little higher end, where patients want to know and B, heart attack proof for sure. So we offer testing for that. We're part of many heart attack and stroke prevention programs. I get to travel the country and meet a lot of doctors, and it's the information I'm putting together is not exactly what we see and what we're sold with commercials. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, well, let me bring up your chart here.
Excellent.
And, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can run with it.
I'd love that. All right. So stories, and I try to talk in moments of my life and history. And so if you follow me, hopefully it'll be a fun journey. When I was a teenager, I have a little sister. We were jumping on the trampoline, and I broke her leg. And we went to the hospital. They casted her up, and they locked me in a room with all the equipment. And it was the best day of my life. I fired up the ultrasound machine. I turned on the fluoroscopy machine. I saw x-rays in my hand. It was the best. I'm so sorry for my little sister, but the best exposure. Anyways, I'm like, when I'm a grown up, I'm going to come back to this stuff. It's too cool. I finished college. I get a couple bachelor's degree. I'm not a particularly great student, but I started working for a man, and he knew ultrasound, and I stuck with it. I worked for free for a long time, and eventually I became worthwhile to keep around. And we developed a network of working for lawyers and doing hired ultrasound work. There's not a lot of that, but we were thinking, like, what is the next big thing? What do people want to see? And we knew baby boomers were coming. People wanted to invest in their health. And so we took in a tool that's used in research, measuring the layers of the artery. How thick are they? They're very important to your health. And that's where the plaque forms. And a plaque forms by starting out soft. Your body will address it and make it a little more calcified. It actually loads calcium in there. And then at the end of the cycle, it's a calcified plaque. It's a scar. It snaps like chalk in cadavers, but that's secure and safe. It's not going anywhere. The mixed plaque is safer. The soft plaque is very dangerous, and it's not seen by coronary calcium scores. That's the exam where they measure how much calcium's in your. Anyways, I came back to ultrasound, and I knew that there was a lot of research to be leveraged to explain people's own arterial health to themselves. So I've been doing this for 20 years. I go into doctor's offices. I do a carotid ultrasound on the neck, and whatever I find in there is a really good reflection of what's going on in the heart. Now, my sales pitch to the doctors is I can help your patients see and understand this, because if they don't understand it, you're going to get what you get with cholesterol tests. Everybody knows their cholesterol is not good. There's always, and it's a great way to sell drugs, but it's not the best way to motivate patients. However, seeing plaque in your arteries is. Seeing buildup in your arteries becomes very personal to you. And with some recent huge jumps in technology, I'm going to explain this to you. So behind me, I have a machine that's used in the hospital commonly. It's a great machine. It sees very clearly. Well, let's see if I can get it in my hand. And this is the latest. I use this for research projects with major companies. And it's good. But the jump in technology is these handheld probes. This probe has crystals in it, and it's about $10,000 for each one. Loads up to the machine, crazy expensive, very delicate. This is a digital chip on an ultrasound probe. You can plug it into a cell phone, and I'll show you the images, not of my niece. Turn it on, and you can get live pictures of your artery. In fact, it's so amazing, I don't mind doing it again. And I need you to think three-dimensionally when you look at this. That tube in the center is my artery. And as I go up higher, it's going to split into two pathways. One of those pathways feeds my brain. One feeds my nose and face with blood. I can lay it out flat, and you'll see on the bottom of the wall, there's a very thin line that fades in and out. That is your intima media, and it explains a lot about your health. Let's go to the slide, Steve. Thank you for helping me here. So you can track a lot by looking at the arteries. And what affects the arteries most, this is the end of the lesson, but you'll want to start thinking about it. It's corn syrup and seed oils are the biggest change in the diet in the last 40 years and are causing the most problem. But looking at the arteries, we can get a lot of information. Do I just hit next slide? This is the same technology that you see in the hospital, same machines. We're just applying a better resolution to your measurements. So on the left side of the screen, you see a healthy artery, thin lining. This is what it looks like in teenagers. As you move more to the right, you'll see the damage happen. And that kind of is the way it happens. Fatty streaks form in the layers. They don't get out. And when they become big, soft lumps of plaque, they pop. When they're calcified, they're safe. But when they're fresh and soft, they pop. They rupture. And whatever goo hits the blood turns into a huge clot that can mosey up to your brain or down to your heart and legs. So my job is I measure specific layers. In that box right here on the middle right, you see this intima and media. And as we go up to the bifurcation, you'll see how the walls get a bit thicker. That's inflammation. That's the beginning of a plaque. I'll show you some whoppers of plaques in a second. But this is the general area in which I'm looking. Here's the layers. I'm getting a little more specific for you. And there's even a layer here I'm going to tell you about at the end on top of the endothelium. We thought it was the endothelium, but recently we found out it's this layer of hairs called the glycocalyx. And I got a couple slides at the end about that. So I'm going to use two different tools on your artery. I'm going to measure plaque, which is atherosclerosis, and inflammation, which is arteriosclerosis. Arterio is the walls getting thicker, the artery getting stiffer, and flexing less with each heartbeat. Atherosclerosis is the worst part because those slides, let me get that right there. Is the plaque, and the plaques pop and rupture and all that. So I will give you pictures of the plaque so you can see if they're calcified, if they're soft, or what stage you're at. And it's even a pretty decent way to track in your own heart. This has been correlated with IVUS, intracoronary vascular, X-ray, this is real research. If you look up carotid intima media, you'll see it's related. Huge research studies, 10,000 people over 10 years. I mean, this is what the researchers use to get at the disease. So how predictive is it? The very bottom right number, 81.06%. If I find enough plaque in your arteries, 8 out of 10 of you will have a heart attack in the next 10 years. If I just find thickened walls, 40% of you will have a heart attack in the next 10 years. And if your arteries are healthier, your odds go up a lot. Now, they do operate, but only when you're 70% blocked or more. Meaning if I looked at your artery and it was halfway blocked, the doc would say, that's fine. You know, do you want to do any prevention? And if you know what you're doing, you know, but your doctor doesn't, they're not trained for preventative stuff. They're trained for crashes and saving you out of a pinch in the hospital and ER. The preventative economy is pretty garbage. You need to find a doctor that's local to you and passionate about this, and there's not a lot of ways to get good at this unless you educate yourself. And I'll give you some tips at the end, like the cheapest, freest, most effective things to do. Okay, so by measuring the thickness of the walls, this thin layer, I will give you a vascular age. That research study that had 10,000 people over 10 years, there were multiples of them, but I referenced the ERIC study, Atherosclerosis Risk in Communities. And those are my reference values. So I'll tell you, when I say you have the arteries of a 50-year-old, it's because I looked up how thick your walls were, your artery was, and referenced this database. And it's very accurate. This is the tracking tool accurate. The plaque is more of a pregnancy test. Do you have plaque in your arteries? But the intimal lining, the inflammatory disease is very trackable. And changes in your diet, you know, corn syrup and seed oils are the biggest causes. 100 years ago, Americans ate a few ounces of sugar a year, and now we average 60 pounds per person. Remember, you have a little pancreas, a little thing that makes insulin that's supposed to metabolize all that. It wasn't built for 60 pounds of sugar. I think it was built for, you know, berries in the spring or, you know, rare occurrences where you got very sweet stuff. Most people might do really well by trying to reset your taste palate, quit sugar for a little bit, and see if you can build up. You'll find that the Kool-Aid is way too sweet once you come back. All right, so the bottom left ultrasound picture, you see this little plaque, a little picture pointing, this is mine. And I've got some plaque forming. And when I did this, I was about 80 pounds heavier. Seeing my arteries really woke me up. made me look into it, see what I could do. I take niacin, the kind that makes your skin flush. That's very good for you. Making sure your diet's good. You know, whatever markers you want to follow, just follow them. Follow something and use that as a rule for yourself. Now, this top left one, you see how the lining is so much thicker? This is diffuse, thickened intima. These arteries do not flex very well. They're not very good. But on the near wall and the upper wall, right here, you see this big old, and I'll make this slide deck available to you. You guys can get closer, but look how thick that monster is. And that's a small one. So this is from a research study where they were tracking plaque with statins. A statin is Lipitor, Crestor, one of that class of drug. This one just happened to be rosuvastatin, and they got a really good profile picture of a plaque. And you see these dark pockets? The blood is dark because it's liquid, and inside these pockets, it's liquid. And you'll see that these pockets are shrinking over time. The body is loading up little blood vessels called vasoviscorum, and that's what injects the calcium into the plaque and removes whatever it removes. But we do know it's a process that takes a while. Statins help it. The clinics I service that I cover that are statin heavy, this happens. You know, there's drawbacks to statins, but they definitely work. If you can't cut out the corn syrup and control they're an option, not your first. Here you can see the intima is kind of reasonable right here, and this plaque gets way bigger. You want to know why that happens? Nobody else will tell you why it happens, but I'll tell you. It's like the bad cholesterol gets pushed into the walls of the artery, and the body tries to save it, sends in a white blood cell, gobbles up the bad stuff, but it can't leave, can't go anywhere. The body has no rejection process. So these foam cells aggregate like pools of garbage, and the body only over time will calcify them. But you know, the body live cells don't love crystals right next to them. They poke and hurt and itch, and they cause irritation and inflammation, and the whole process starts and gets worse. So what do? Well, you look at the plaque, you assess what it is. If the intima is good, then you're probably good on metabolic issues, meaning sugar and insulin is probably okay. Sugar and insulin affect the intima. Small molecules affect the plaques. Small molecules, meaning that bad cholesterol, that LP little a, LDL, that's it. Those come down the barrel of the artery and they spin. There's turbulence in your artery. And the blood, those of you who know about hydrodynamics, the blood spins. There's not a clear path between them. And so that turbulence can cause issues. Now we're going to look at some good arteries and bad arteries so you kind of know what's out there. And these are, 8 out of 10 people I scan will have a plaque I can point to. Most of us have plaque in our arteries. So here's some mild ones starting on the top left. Not bad at all. This one on the top right is kind of advanced. This is very thick intima all along here. And you'll notice there's white chunks and whiter chunks. And there's a black shadow underneath this chunk. The reason there's a shadow is because the ultrasound cannot penetrate the calcium. It bounces off. So I know when a plaque is calcified because I can't see through it. Soft plaques, I can see through, and those are the dangerous plaques. So you can see how the plaques can be layered, conceptual, they can complex, different stages. Now the bottom left, this patient measured at 55.71% blockage. You see that big old soft, gooey plaque. You see how reduced the blood flow is. Now here it is from a side view, probably right in the middle. If you drew a line down it, you would get this picture. But you see how it looks reasonably healthy. So I always measure in the worst section of your artery, so you have something to look at. But these, once the blockage gets so much, the speed of the blood goes up. Just like when you put your thumb on a garden hose and the water goes faster, further, that happens inside your body. And your body doesn't love it, but it will accommodate it. So I've scanned people that were totally blocked here, and they felt fine. You'd think they get dizzy when they stand up. I asked them because, I'm in heart attack and stroke prevention. I'm looking for, indications, reasons. Did you notice this? Nope. They never feel anything. There's no I mean, for a heart attack, you're not going to sense it coming months ahead of time. Anyways, these plaques build up and the body will reroute all around it. I even had a patient where the blood rerouted back down from the brain to feed the nose and face because this part was clogged. The body's amazing. It'll deal with a lot of your garbage to keep you alive. All right, here's on our report. This is the part of the slide the doctors like, is I'll actually draw it for you where the plaque is. The white is what we do on the ultrasound machine. The pink and blue and the red line, that's what we measure for the clinics, for the doctors. We put all of your pictures that we take of you and we put them in a report and we make it as easy as possible for you to understand all of this. Yeah, so your doctor will not kick you out to the vascular surgeon until you're more than 70% blocked. If you're 65% blocked, then you'll be lucky to be fed some statins and maybe given some half decent knowledge on how to prevent heart attacks or strokes. But if you really want to prevent it, if you really want to be healthy, it's a lifestyle. At a minimum, I'll guarantee you that, because cutting out corn syrup is not easy. I had to go through this whole journey of even finding what had corn syrup in it for me to effectively cut it out, and it's in everything. All right, this is the fun part. I'm not going to hit play on this video, but what you're going to red is direction going right to left, so going up to the brain. Blue is blood coming back. So what I'm trying to show to you with that little blue section is that there's turbulence in the artery. The blood, every heartbeat that you have, there's a little bit of turbulence in the system. Now imagine that your cholesterol is not tip top. In fact, the worst cholesterol, you got a lot of it and they're dense and they're small and they can get pushed, wedged in between the layers of that artery and the endothelium. That's how plaques build up. There's turbulence there. It's been pretty well studied, but not many people put it together that you can protect your layers. You can protect your arteries. And this is pretty new. Not a lot of people know about it. The glycocalyx, this is that hairy cilia layer on top of your arterial wall, and it can get damaged. On the left is healthy. Long strands, they're negatively charged on the end. They blow in the wind with every heartbeat that you have, and they keep the red blood cells moving. Now, as you go further right, you'll see it gets kind of compromised. It's like grass that's been walked on too much. It just doesn't protect like it should, making it much more available for those small, dense LDL particles that get pushed into the walls. So what this nutraceutical does, because it's not a pharma, it's actually a seaweed. It's a very special seaweed. I'm sure you guys can find it. But this special seaweed lays down like AstroTurf, keeps you a little bit protected. And you can buy this after, but it's not the most important thing I recommend. It's just a very interesting how the science is catching up to the turbulence, to the narrative of the physical. It's not just cholesterol. And you guys have been sold statins, Lipitor, Crestor, rosuvastatin, that class of drugs, as a way to manage cholesterol, and they do. But what I see is that they put calcium into the plaques a little faster. I'm sure there's a cost to it. I don't recommend them first. What I recommend is corn syrup, seed oils. Seed oils, let's talk about seed oils for a second. What is a seed oil? So in the 1990s, McDonald's switched out beef tallow, you know, the old school deep fry fat, and for seed oils. Seed oils like, what is it, castrol? Canola oil. Canola oil was an engine lubricant in World War II. Pretty high test stuff for high temperatures. Your body doesn't love canola oil. It doesn't like oils with high, what they call it, flash temperatures, high smoke temperatures, oils that don't burn easily. And that's what exactly they're good for deep frying. So when you're trying to figure out the conspiracy of why does America look different on the beach in the 1970s than they do now, the two big changes are the corn syrup and everything, which is a molecule your body wants to store more than it wants to use. That sucrose is it likes to be stored more than used. It doesn't get burnt as readily. So you'll notice that America we have a rampant disease of fatty liver disease. We're foie gras, that delicious French meal where they do that to the geese. Americans are pretty much doing that to themselves, and that'll probably be the next test I develop is that with these small ultrasound machines, doctors want to track and educate patients, because if you found out your liver was fatty or that your arteries had plaque in it, you're much more apt to make changes because you want to, not because you're scared of something, but because you want to think cleaner, you want to feel better, you want to be more active. Because health, man, there's a lot of phrases about health, but the one that got me was health is a currency that you can spend on the future. If you want to do anything, you want to see the Grand Canyon, you want to ride a horse, hang out with the grandkids, go to college, wait, you need to feel good enough to do it. If you don't feel good enough, you're not going to do it. So investing an hour a day in your health, walking. If you won't walk for your own safe self, get a dog. Walk the dog. You'll walk the dog. You won't do it for yourself, but you probably do it for your dog. But building your life in a way that is built for optimum health, being there for others. I believe that we're here for a life of service. We're here to help others help themselves, and a rising tide usually lifts all boats. So at this point in the presentation, this is usually to doctors, physicians, telling them that they can buy this probe for a few $1,000s. I'll email Steve the link just in case any of you do want to buy one and play with it. I'll happily teach you. I have a stable of doctors using them, buying them, and it's just a great way to show patients what's going on with their arteries. All right, I'm going to show you a couple slides, what it looks like. And when we look at these, it's going to be about thinking three-dimensionally. This is my contact info. I'm looking for tutors on physics and other devices. Please contact. If anybody wants to learn more about this, I'm super happy to do it. And I'm going to go to the slides on the ultrasound. Steve, I'm not sure how to get to that next. Thank you. This is a side view of the ultrasound. We're looking, I'm poking around the bifurcation, the bulb where it splits into two. This is just going to loop. That's fine. That thin little IMT, that thin little layer that's right in the middle of the screen, that's the intima media. I snip out those images and I measure them to get an average, because that's what I track. When you eat better, when you eat less corn syrup, when you eat cleaner, more better foods, cleaner foods, the inflammation comes down, that layer gets thinner and meaner and healthier. If you've got too much garbage in your diet, those molecules get pushed around and pushed into the walls. All right, let's do the next one. This is a two-dimensional screen. We're starting at the bottom of the artery, and as we move up, it turns into a Y. Right there, it splits into two pathways. Big one feeds the brain, little one feeds the nose and face. Play that again. It's so pretty. This can be done with a $3,000 tool on yourself any day of the week. You can see plaque building up in the arteries. Again, it's like I'm 17 and at a hospital breaking through the equipment. This stuff I always found fascinating. All right, at this point, I'd like to open up to any questions, answers, anything you guys want to talk about related to heart disease. I'll tell you what my doctors tell me. Yeah, we've scanned in all 50 states. I got 250,000 people in my database. I got the data.
Well, about 20 years ago, I had a EDTA chelation therapy done.
Chelation therapy?
Yeah. EDTA.
Oral or intravenous?
Intravenous.
Okay, pretty serious stuff.
Well, yeah, because I had an infarction on my right, one of my kidneys, and the doctor wanted me to do that, and so I did it. I felt a lot younger, and I'm hoping to do that again someday. And I was just wondering, well, maybe I should do an ultrasound before and then do one after, see what it's really doing.
Yeah. Steve, I'll scan you when I see you in August.
Okay.
And we'll get a before. And chelation doesn't work quickly. None of these processes work very quickly. It takes a lifetime to build up that much plaque. And they don't go away. They're going to be there. They're going to leave a scar. But chelation, I have a few clients that do it.
But this one here, it took 20 treatments and about 2 to 3 times a week. You had to space a day or two through.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was 20 years younger.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of my clients use it. They have a hard time getting insurance for it because the medical system's working against them. Not because I don't think it works, but the system causes resistance on that therapy. It's not common, but the doctors in the know all keep it as an option.
Well, I was fortunate enough to where I could make payments, because They cost me about $100 per treatment at that time. You know, I don't know what would be now.
Yeah. Chelation. I mean, that was used in World War II to get the heavy metals out of the soldiers, right?
Yeah, but I'm ready to do that again because I have issues. You know,
Right. Yeah. Chelation works. A lot of people jump starts their mitochondria. They get a lot more energy. I've even see it reduce plaque in a lot of patients. But ooh,
okay. Here's a question. I have a general question. Will you branch out into other areas where ultrasound is used, like in dentistry to regrow lost teeth?
I would love to. I read those articles about the dude who put the probe on it and he regrew teeth on some animals. Yeah, super fascinating stuff. If I had little tiny probes, I'd do it. I think you can buy those cheap from China if you want to play with it. And if I had time, I would. I mean, 100%, I would love to play with this stuff. But
I like
that would take a pretty big commitment. But yeah, I do want to grow some of my own lost teeth.
Well, I need to do that because I'm getting ready to get all these top ones pulled, you know, and if I can regrow them, I'd love to do that. Okay,
Yeah, I've
here's
seen them regrow limbs on frogs with electricity. I've seen articles on can it detect blood clots from COVID. You can see blood clots. This is the same ultrasound we use at the hospital to in your leg. We would trace, let me get this right here. We would trace the artery and just kind of all the branches and make sure they're not clogged because I can turn color on with the ultrasound machine. Here, let's give a demo because I like. But you can turn color on and you can trace the arteries. Oh my. I'm not even plugged in. How embarrassing. But yeah, you can see the clots if they're there. But I think you might be asking if they're transient clots. And those are tough to see because if they're moving. But the body's a big fishing net. So it eventually gets trapped somewhere. You're lucky if it traps in your legs instead of your heart or brain or an organ of single failure, single point of failure. Come on, baby. Impress me. All right. Luckily, I have a backup ultrasound. But yeah, in the hospital, when you sense a blood clot or they track it, they just get a really experienced technician. Start out on the groin area. It's not the favorite of the techs. So you can lay it out, turn on the pulse Doppler, and you can just trace up to the artery. And if there's a clot, you'll see it. The signal drops out. There's no movement. That color senses movement more than anything else. And like I said about the garden hose and the putting your thumb on it, we also use pulse Doppler, where we can line it up with the artery. I can get the speed of the blood, just like in the hospital, and get the frequency. And when it's over like 150, that's when it starts getting bad. I'll tell you it. I'll write it down. And on my report, I red, yellow, greened it. So yellow is like 125 to 150, but after 150 centimeters a second, that's how fast the peak blood is going through your artery. Once the pressures really start ramping up, your body will remodel. It'll change direction. It'll move flow. I don't know what taught the body how to do that, but it certainly does do it. In fact, I had this whole internal debate about evolution. When a plaque forms, the body always seems to push it out to the wall. And I didn't know how the body figured that out until it took me like 3 years of looking at patients and having a good think. But it's the pressure inside the blood that pushes out and forces that plaque outwards. Kind of like putting a stent in your artery.
okay, another comment. It seems like ultrasound has unlimited uses. I heard it can be used to put out fires. I saw the video of it. Can you let us know some other uses of ultrasound?
Yeah, I hear a lot of rumored uses. I see patents out of Israel where they melt belly fat with ultrasound. You can't do it in one treatment, but I think they call that cool sculpting or thing now. Regrowing teeth, pretty freaking cool. Ultrasound, yeah, levitating things. Yeah, it's got so many uses that when I see those Egyptian reliefs and I see a snake, and somebody said that snake represents vibration, it really does make me think, because yeah, ultrasound is just frequency and the air is the carrier. I have to use gel or water, that's not gel, to get it to transmit, because ultrasound can't go through air very well, which just puts you on a whole mind bender about what it could do. There's headsets of ultrasound that will stimulate blood flow in your head. I saw this at a Peter Diamandis conference, Tony Robbins conference they had me at. And yeah, it increases some people. It's freaking Star Trek, man. You got to be careful with it. I know you can lobotomize yourself. Elements transmutation with, I have not heard about that. I've heard about the transmutation with low energy nuclear reactions. Those papers are hard for me to understand. But yeah, like I spent, for my first ultrasound machine, I think I spent $150,000. I bought it used, drove it home from California in an Astro van. 10 years later, these smaller machines come out, size of a laptop. Then they got a little bigger, because the quality, you did not compromise on quality after 2010, 2015. And, this $3,000 rig, let me tell you how this changes the industry, because nobody's paying attention to it. In Canada, there's fewer machines than in Seattle, fewer MRI machines. MRI is a little more expensive, a little harder. MRI is just too hard. It sees things. It's a great tool. No, not knocking. I'm just saying it's expensive and it's hard to get out. Ultrasound can see just about everything. It requires an experienced technician, somebody who knows their way around, tell you what's normal, what's not normal. But AI's coming and computers are coming to tell us what is normal, what's not normal. There's already AI that will annotate, meaning it'll tell you what part of the body you're in just by putting it on your neck. This is the common carotid. This is the bifurcation. This is the internal, the X. It'll notate it all for you. And they're giving that away for free. On that Butterfly website, the people who make these probes. So it is my estimation that these probes are just going to eventually be put into your phone, and you'll rub your phone on something like that. And whoever can communicate it to you, the data, whether it's your doctor or your doctor hiring me to explain it in a nice report, some format, I think that's the future in 10, 20 years. AI won't replace humans. This interaction, human to human, will never be replaced, because that's what value is. Value is what human assesses to another human or experience. And AI can pass the bar exam, it's passed the doctor exam in all modalities, in all disciplines, orthopedics, family practice, internal medicine. Like it's mastered. It's unconquerable there. But someone caring for another person, whatever energy's gone back and forth, besides that, it's real. And there are healers out there. I believe that with all my heart. And if you can find a doctor that's a healer, I think you're blessed.
Well, it looks like they're used like for the teeth. I mean, is the ultrasound, that's what's generating the teeth to start growing again?
Yeah. They put some stem cells in there, and then I forgot where the dude was out of, but he was regrown in an animal. He regrew, was it gerbil? I forget. But he put a little tiny probe right on top of the gums, and it tickled, it grew. I don't know if it looked wonky. He didn't show beautiful porcelain pictures, but he was growing crap.
Well, I've been reading like where they actually have another set of teeth that we have, and they're trying to figure out what it's going to take to activate them.
That could be it.
And maybe it's the ultrasound, and maybe when you talk about healers, maybe when you have I have a lot of videos on this where they come in, they hum or whatever, they hum over you or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the ultrasound vibration that's getting to them. Or,
okay, I got a client, you got your really smart clients that you kind of listen when they talk. This guy wrote for the Mayo Clinic newsletter for like 20 years. So all the information's going across his desk. And he's big into Tai Chi and the energy, the chi energy. And he explained some things to me that are just too wooey. However, I trust this guy, and he doesn't lie. He doesn't joke about that crap. He's dead serious about medicine. And he told me the story about he went to some chi conferences where these guys were teaching people how to tap into your whatever. And some dudes have like started fire with their hands or the heel. Like there's some energy that's real. But the mantras you're talking about where they hum and I think that's a variation of the same thing. I think it's tied in. I just wish I could understand it better. But yeah, like that's too persistent of a rumor.
And the Tibetan monks are supposed to levitate this rock from the base of this cliff into this hole in the cliff there using the sound.
Where did you see that? I've heard about that. I've never seen it.
Actually, there's an article in one of my books I put together, one of the proceedings from our previous conferences back in the 80s. And I'm trying to think of who did that.
Yeah, I've heard stories about monks chanting in unison and levitating crap.
I'm pretty sure Dan Davison that refers to that too a lot in his book, like Shape Power, and that, and because he's in the anti-gravity. The anti-gravity people are really into this stuff too.
Hey, what happened to those anti-gravity newsletters, trade groups in the like 1950s, where universities, you see articles like this university's doing that, this trade group's doing that, Professor X is doing this, and then 1957 it seemed to just evaporate. Is that what you're talking about?
No, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like modern anti-gravity. You know, and I've been doing this stuff since 1984, and I believe this is probably the 96 proceedings. I actually have an article with an illustration of that. You know,
fascinating.
But yeah, it's funny you should say that about 1957. That's about the time NASA comes into being. It's kind of like maybe the government was trying to get rid of all the competition because you had like I don't know, people like Bonson and that who was doing stuff with anti-gravity, you know,
yep.
And all of a sudden, Johnson, Brown, and Bonson.
And in the last year, I've gotten into this stuff, which is why I'm talking to you at the TeslaTech. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, I can join your club and learn about all this. But like here in Utah, Dr. Morey, he was famous for a while. He had a device. He had people check it out. They wrote articles about it. So I thought for sure there'd be like a museum here or something, and I can't find anything about this guy.
Well, T. Henry Morey. In fact, there's a book out by Morey King.
Yeah.
Who was named after Morey, by the way. But anyway, Morey will be at the conference, Morey King. But the T. Henry Morey, he had a black box where he was pulling the energy right out of the air, you know.
The ether.
And lighting up huge banks of lights and everything. And he had affidavit after affidavit. I guess the Russians were trying to steal it from him, you know, and there's a whole chapter of that. That's where he was injured and everything. When he died, all that stuff went to his son, John. John is no longer with us. But I don't think John could ever, I don't think he knew what his dad was doing.
You know? He just wasn't intuitive with it?
A lot of times what you have happening is a lot of times the kids don't really pay attention to what their dad's doing.
Yeah.
Then when their dad passes away, they try to do it, and they just.
Yeah, it's been proven that institutional memory is only 2 generations old. If your grandfather knew it, you probably don't know it.
So, but then you also have to work with it. You know, that's the thing. You have to work with this stuff to know it. You know, and I've worked with stuff which is pretty bizarre. You know, that it's totally turned my way of thinking around a lot of things. You know, because I've seen and actually helped build a device that got 10 times the power out of the ether. There's no other explanation, but yet it only lasted for 3 weeks. It's like you punch a hole in it, and then after 3 weeks, it closes it up, you know? So.
You just need to start the machine again, or what? Or did it break?
Because these people lured the guy who was showing me away because we were trying to figure out why it was 3 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
And there's the deal he worked with them is they promised him all these millions, but he couldn't work with me, you know. Well, they went off to build these bigger machines and everything, but yet 3 weeks. And instead of trying to figure out what the 3 weeks is about, they just went around and just started saying the guy's a charlatan. You know, he was doing it with microwaves and everything. And I know that was BS because I live in a place where there are no microwaves. You know, you're in the middle of nowhere. And for you to get that much power, you know, the only place you could do it would be underneath of the hood of his truck, you know, which was a Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
And there ain't much space underneath there, you know. So that would have been a engineering feat in itself.
Yeah,
So
gas tank is 3 weeks old. Huh.
So you hear about the suppression and everything. I think it's refusal of people taking the time to learn and dig into it and figure out what's really going on. You know, and I think Tesla ran into it when he did his car because he sold his car to Western. Was it General Electric there? Is it Western? George Westinghouse. Yeah, he sold his patents to Westinghouse on that. For that car and everything, and then you don't hear nothing about it yet. The Tesla moves in to the Hotel New York, which is ultra modern hotel at that time, and all his bills are paid for. This was last by Westinghouse. So
is that what that was?
Huh?
I wondered who put him up because he was penniless, but he was in a posh hotel for the time.
Yeah, and he goes, well, I'd like to tell you about my greatest invention, but I can't because of financial obligations. And I believe that what he ran into is what I ran into. And he just knew he didn't have enough time in his lifetime because he's towards the end of his life to figure this thing out and decide to cash in, you know, that part.
Yeah, I mean, from that hotel room, he wrote lots of letters. He tried selling stuff to Russians. He tried building, like, he was still hustling, but it's like he was controlled in that building. He couldn't get any momentum after that.
I don't think it was controlled in the normal sense of the word. He just didn't have the
well, what is control like? Okay, I'm newer to this, so like let me tell you about my journey. I want to find out about these over Unity machines. So I go on the internet, and the websites, the links on the old discussion groups are always dead. But I'm resilient, so I go to archive.org and I put in those websites, and these dudes happen to leave their phone numbers on it. So I'll start calling, the old dudes. And they're like, oh, my website's down, but I'm happy to talk. They're retired. They're trying to teach their kid like you're describing. And they all have a secret. They all want to make a lot of money off of it. And they don't want the secret to die, but they want to leverage this very valuable. And that's what seems to kill it. Like it's like a gold fever people get when they feel this free energy thing, and the potential is limitless, right? But they just seem to disappear. Anyways, calling these guys, asking them what technologies are out there, and they all tell me a different one. Stirling engines, those heat engines, the little toys. I said, real? That's real? Look it up, dude. You won't find really good information. Once you get good at searching, you start finding people who write PhD theses on these. You'll find out that there's 10 companies around the world that make these Stirling engines, that it's what's used in the satellites to power them with a heat differential. And they used to put them in cars back in NASA put them in cars in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, recalled them all and hid the tech because it would burn any fuel, any heat. You just needed heat. And so, yeah, you're seeing a pattern of how this technology is taken. And it's not by like really mean methods. It's by luring people's greed against themselves and kind of breaking up a brotherhood.
Well, in the past,
that's what I see.
In the past, I think, they were more physical about it, But now with the advent of the internet and that, it don't buy him anything, And
isolated. We're all isolated.
What I do is flood everything with misinformation and put all this information out there that's fake, and so people are chasing their tail and everything. And that's how I do this conference is we're trying to have people who actually have this to come and show that this stuff is real, and it's a put up or shut up type of show. We're looking for hardware, not hot air, So that's a come. I'm happy to see you come to the conference and bring in those probes. And I know, well, you probably have a nice stand for people to get checked out there, But
yeah, we do it nice.
I think like for me, it's a way of when I was doing the EDTA, it would have been nice if I could have done the ultrasound and see how it was really affecting me and see if it's really um, real, or if it's
Yep.
just in my imagination. But
Yeah, like how much has this been kept from you? This ultrasound has been kept in the hospital. They want you to pay at least $500 to $1,500 for what I just showed you a million times. Like it's free, it's cheap, it's a tool. This should be you should have a person on every corner in every town, some gal that can do it for you for cheap and community based. Like these machines are not crazy expensive. This stuff should be accessible. You should have gotten a baseline before you started that therapy.
yeah, well, it's kind of hard. Like when I went into the hospital, um, I was a hurt unit. I mean, so the pain was so intense, I could barely stand it, and they were able to stick an IV in me on the way
Wait,
to
the
the
pain, your heart pain, angina, or what kind of pain?
kidney. It was on my kidney.
Oh,
They said I had an infarction, like a heart attack on my kidney. Okay, and they ended up putting a stent in, but to
your
go
kidney
in,
clogged, huh?
yeah,
It wasn't like a stone. They didn't use lithotripsy on it. That type of power projection.
they went in and they put a stent. But then a couple years later, I got the same kind of pain. Went to a different hospital. And they said I was passing stones, and I was going to pass 3 of them. And sure enough, I was looking for them, and I saw 3 rocks come out of me. It's
Yeah, I
kind of
hear that's not fun.
oh, it's not, but they put me on ibuprofen, like 600 milligram, 800 milligram
I won't
tablets.
touch it.
Well, I did. The pain was so intense, and you take the ibuprofen, and it takes the edge off. Okay, and then you be laying there for a little bit longer. It's all settled down. Then all of a sudden, it starts moving again. That's when it's moving. That's when the pain was. Okay, and it's just take the ibuprofen when you have the pain. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And anyone taking painkillers, they should always take them sparingly,
Yeah.
only when you need them. And I tell you what, if you really have pain, you're not going to get hooked on these things when you have pain. It just deadens it. Okay, getting high is a whole different story there.
Yeah.
And even now, these people have gone crazy. With the opioids and everything. I got this new stuff. I don't know, ever hear of Neptune Fix?
No.
Thienepatine or something like that. It's called gas station heroin.
Are you doing gas station heroin again, Steve?
No, I quit that stuff a long time ago. No. This stuff is so it's so potent out there, Fentanyl. I mean, it's like
No joke. It's no joke.
that's what killed Michael Jackson. Was fentanyl.
Yeah,
because the doctor was inducing it put him in a coma using that stuff.
yeah. I get to travel for my job a fair bit. Different clinics around the country, and I like it. But since the pandemic, man, there is an episode of The Living Dead, zombies walking around the cities. But when foreign dignitaries come in, it gets cleaned up real quick, which I do not understand. Which only leads me to believe this is on purpose and there's some benefit to doing it.
But anyway, here's Maria. She's talking about this herb here. It literally means stonebreaker in Spanish. I guess that's what they. And she also talks about can. It's really good for the heart. And I know this because if you go to my website, I have a lot of global science conferences on there, videos up there. And some of these guys, that was a big thing at the global science. I had a friend who had these, he takes these capsules, 1 or 2 a day, and it just burns the heart right on out. It cleans it right on out.
Burn its way through you, man. You got to get used to that.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? But anyway, I think we pretty much covered everything. Unless you,
I love it.
I want to get your.
Yeah, that's my info, and I'm happy to share everything I know about ultrasound. If any of you physicists, engineers, people want to talk, tell me fun stuff, I'm down to talk.
And if you go to vasolabs.com.
Yep, you can buy an ultrasound. You can learn about heart disease. I tell you the information. I only go off of research and what my doctors tell me. Yeah, I'll steer you as best I can, but everybody's different. Everybody's different. If you really want to knock it out, start looking into your gut bacteria. That's a hot science right now.
And you're going to be at the conference right there at Crown Plaza in Albuquerque. You know,
Tell you what I'll do is at the conference, I'll scan everyone who comes up to the booth. We'll look. If you pay for the report, we'll send you the report, but I'll show you what I got back right there. And I think I can send you the images right away. So you'll have a copy for yourself. So free screening for everyone. And if they want to pay the $99 for the report, I'll give them the full report, send them to their doctor, send the report to your doctor with an explanation. Yeah, let's rising tide lifts all boats.
Now, you don't have an MD, right? Or do you? Are you an MD?
No, I'm a business guy. I got 2 bachelors and then I got an MBA.
So we want to make it clear here. We're not giving out medical advice here.
No.
You know, we take pictures and stuff and that, and we'll send it to your medical professional, Dad.
Yeah, we're just talking shop here.
Yeah. So we want to make that perfectly clear. You know, this is not medical advice. So, and because that's a big thing, you know, these days.
Yeah, good people don't seem to sue about that. It's only jerks. Everybody's looking for truth.
Everyone may be looking, but see, it's not necessarily worry about the people you're showing. It's their relatives. Because I know people, you know, on the deathbed try some of this stuff, you know, and then they want to turn around and sue the guy who like made MWOs, you know, multiple wave oscillators, and they want to turn it around and sue them, you know, because, you know, so you got to be real careful what you do out here and what you say.
Yeah, that's true. And this is prevention. I mean, you got to get ahead of the disease. I'm trying to help you get ahead of it. If you've already had a heart attack or stroke, even then your cardiologist doesn't give very good prevention advice. Their job is to put stents in you and patch you up and get you out again. Once in a while, you'll find a good office with like a nurse practitioner or somebody doing a prevention clinic. But yeah, you got to look for yourself. Finding a Sherpa in the medical system is very useful. Somebody who knows the land can help you navigate, because it feels like the whole medical system, or at least a large part of it, there's obstructions and friction, and it just.
Well, my healthcare comes from the VA for the most part. Humana sends these people out who do like a quick checkup on you and everything.
That's nice.
But even in the VA, most of my stuff at this point is through a telehealth.
Right.
I haven't seen my a primary care guy in 2, maybe 3 years now.
Aren't they supposed to like touch you and poke you and make sure you're not going to die?
That's old school. But anyway,
all right.
But like I go in, you know, and they take all my blood and everything. They look at it, you know, and the nurse.
Oh, so you did the telehealth with the doctor, and they have a technician come out and get all the metrics on you, all the.
Yeah, that metrics.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, and then I go to the lab there, and they take a lot of blood, and they do me every 6 months because I had Hep C at one point, and they used to treat it with interferon, which, from my understanding, is hell on wheels there, you know, and in my case. That's where he had me do all these tests, and that's where he found out my heart problems and my breathing issues and that. So I'm on a breathing machine at night because I have a CPAP machine, and I have to have it hooked up to oxygen because my blood desaturates, you know, at night when I'm still. So that's what they do for me. And then I have diabetes, so I take all these pills and everything. I'd like to try to go the EDTA route. But they won't cover that.
ODTA.
EDTA, you know, the chelation therapy, and clean me out that way and kind of reset myself is what I want to do. I think I can do that, but you know, it takes a few bucks here and there, you know.
It takes a lot of bucks.
And find the right person.
You got to be careful about that chelation. I've heard stories of doctors mixing it up on a stove with a wooden spoon and then putting it in the IV. Like, I've heard stories. I know some guys do it right. Some guys don't, but you got to be careful.
I see him mixing stuff with a wooden spoon in the back room there. Thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
But yeah, you hear your horse, but a lot of that's being generated. my biggest concern is uh, catching the Hep C because they put me on that new pill that was coming out at the time. I can't remember the name
Can't
of
they
it.
cure that Hep C now? It's just
Yes,
expensive.
but when I did it, okay, talk about expensive. It was $1,500 for one pill,
I hear it's
and,
100,000 now for the cure.
and so I had to do one pill a day for 12 weeks.
Woi, there you go.
So look at the math on that.
That's more. All right.
And they only did it for they only gave me about 2 weeks worth, 14 pills, okay, and I had to come in and do a blood test, okay, and some other tests they had me do before they give me the next set. So they were tracking me, and it all went away. I mean, it was pretty fast acting. The first week, the viral count went down because they did a viral count on you.
Yeah.
And by the third week, it was they couldn't ever see it. But they kept it in there for like 12 weeks. Now I think they cut the thing back to 8 weeks, and plus it's a lot cheaper than it was when I went in there. Probably about $300 or $400 a pill. You know, but that's cheaper than a 30,000 plus. Well, who knows how much it costs now?
It's more expensive than a casket. Watch out for those insurance companies.
Yeah, it was a lot cheaper than a liver transplant. Okay,
They're getting pretty good at growing those too, I hear.
well, they're getting pretty good, but why bother if you can just get rid of it? With the Hep C, they can reverse it. And that's they still can me come in every 6 months. Instead of an annual thing. So, and it's been like 5 years now. So, I believe in medicine. Don't get me wrong. I believe in medicine, and I think if there's a trauma in that, these guys are probably some of the best in the world. And I don't know if you're watching TV. They even got to the point now where they have this exoskeleton. So if you lost a limb or something, all of a sudden, you can replace it. And I've watched this on TV, and it's just like, wow, it's incredible stuff. That we have going on. But still, you get back. The best thing is for the prevention part.
Yeah, prevention requires a different type of consumer, a different kind of patient. People who will get worked up about prevention and actually do something about it are people that are like, they can be afraid of an idea that's never hurt them yet. Because to prevent a heart attack, most of us have never had one, and we're not going to do heroic measures, but their dad usually died of a heart attack. Their mom usually had, like, some family member that preceded them had a significant, which is the only reason they're taking it seriously. But yeah, prevention's a funny industry because I need to convince people to pay cash for it, which I'm happy to do. I'm happy to do it for free. Like I'm just here to help people, but you gotta have a business.
Well, I think there's a lot of doubting Thomas in all of us, especially people come to my conference.
Oh yeah.
And seeing is a lot different than just taking it on faith. And most of medicine these days is taken on faith, but being able to take that ultrasound probe,
Yeah. If you tell me my cholesterol is high, I'll still drink corn syrup. I love soda pop. I limit it, but yeah, if you tell me it's my cholesterol, but if I see junk in my arteries, man, that affected me a lot more than the cholesterol number.
Well, I totally got rid of all. I don't even drink any kind of Coke or any soft drink at all. The only thing I drink is this herbal tea I make.
Chamomile?
No, it's
what you drink?
I drink the raspberry flavored tea from Celestial. I think it's Celestial.
You trying to have a baby? What are you doing?
No, just trying to raspberry and I can't drink. I hate drinking plain water,
Huh.
And I can't. I get enough caffeine through coffee, so I really don't want black tea and green tea. Yeah, maybe I might drink that, but the herbal tea, you have that little flavor to it, and I don't add no sugar to it.
Just a little flavor is okay, right? Resetting your taste, but I'm a huge fan of that.
No sugar whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't drink any kind of sugar.
Yeah. Good. That stuff. I mean, 60 pounds a year for the average American. That's so, and it's snuck into things that you wouldn't think about, like your ranch dressing, ketchup, all your sauces are highly sugarized. I mean, once you start thinking about it and noticing, it's insidious how everywhere it is.
Yeah. Anyway, so Anyway, I just want to reiterate, if you need to get hold of Joe, here's his information. Okay, write that down, or you can pause the screen and write it down. Okay, and don't forget to sign up for the YouTube channel. The main thing on the YouTube channel is it's the pass to tomorrow. $9.99 gets you global access 24/7. They can get YouTube anywhere nowadays. I mean, I'm sure those guys are watching it in those trenches in Ukraine, even because they get bored. So
Yeah, it's like a public library. I love it.
yeah, I mean, this is one you don't even have to keep it on your shelf as long as there's electricity flowing. That's the only short thing about this is that you have to have electricity. And sign up for the conference, meet Joe there, get your blood, get your arteries checked out real fast, and see if you're one step or two steps away from a heart attack. You know, um, I'm almost terrified to have you do mine. But give me a call, 520-463-1994. We still have I think it's 30% discount. Sign up this week. So go ahead and get in there. And thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And that's going to be